with the power outage, it ended up saving Jack from losing the duel, with Jack claiming that that part can't be true because he says he had him right where he wanted him. So, you know, Mina switches it up to being like, oh, you're so right, Jack. How foolish of me. My bad. We then cut to Rex speaking with the professor about last night, playing back recordings and going over the data from the duel that shows a burst of ultimate energy when Stardust Dragon and Red Dragon Archfiend were attacking one another, thus correlating energy siphoned from dueling in general, which is something we've seen in the past for Yu-Gi-Oh, like specifically in GX, as the professor here calls it Ener-D, and yes, the D stands for dueling. Lazar jumps in saying that what happened was strong enough to awaken the ancient and mystical powers of the Crimson Dragon, giving a direct name to what everyone saw. The potential of the power that this dragon has could cause cataclysmic events to unleash, but when the Crimson Dragon disappeared, it seemed to be the cause of the power grid overloading, and that's where the trace of the dragon ends. Rex is very happy about all of this data, claiming that the amount of power from its summoning was greater than they ever imagined. At the facility, which is this prison-like building that is housed underground somewhere, we see Yusei getting scanned in, now having an identification number thanks to his markings. The rules here are pretty simple. No fighting, no dueling, and more importantly than anything else, no chewing gum. Huh? For real, man?
No chewing gum.
Man. Alright, here you go, Pikachu. Hold on to this for me. I'm coming back for you. Much like a regular prison facility, the guards can essentially get away with whatever they want, as we see right away that one of them lets free another prisoner who is itching to give a hello to his new cell neighbors. And well, maybe all of the other neighbors around are stopping by too. Yanagi has been to the facility many times before, and now has found an easier way to sneak in his whole deck of cards. Yusei knows that it's illegal to be dueling in the facility in the first place, and that cards are considered contraband, but Yanagi says that dueling is the only way to stay safe in here. All of those other prisoners come around and corner Yusei and Yanagi, with the top dog of the prisoners, a guy named Tanner, now getting in Yusei's face about anyone whose first day it is there having to have a duel, and if you duel good, you get respect. The old man is a big fan of this Tanner guy and wants to duel with him first, excited to use his own smuggled-in deck that he claims to be the best there is. It's full of treasure-related cards that he himself really treasures. But hold on, why is there this dueling gym in the facility here if dueling is banned in the first place? You know, you get what I'm saying? Either way, this duel isn't anything too exciting, aside from there seemingly being all these, what feel like, references to Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, so that's neat. I was just reading about that movie coming out in my latest issue of Nick Magazine. Shia LaBeouf's in it, and his career just looks so promising. Oh, this issue appears to be from 2008. It seems like I'm 18 years too late. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Shia LaBeouf did what? The old man's not a great duelist. Most of his cards backfired on him, as he ends up not really knowing how to play and use them properly, resulting in him losing, with Tanner trying to take his cards afterwards. Yanagi tries pleading with him to let him keep them, as he says these cards are all that he has left, with him spending his whole life collecting them, claiming all these ridiculous feats of how he acquired them throughout his life from all around the world, as Tanner is standing on one of the cards and smearing it into the ground, not caring about what's being said. So Yusei, well, he just trips him over. Yusei then asks to use Yanagi's cards, claiming to see the true value of this deck of his as Yusei prepares to face Tanner in a duel, telling him that it's time for him to learn what respect truly means. While that's all been going down, we see back at Sector Security, Jack comes in to interrupt Rex and the others' meeting, as he is looking for some answers on what went down last night, as Rex tells him that he's lucky his little match didn't end up on the news, as he broke a dozen laws in the process of it all. Rex wants to know more about what Jack witnessed with the Crimson Dragon, but Jack wants to know why his red arm marking began to burn. Rex calls this the Crimson Dragon's mark, a symbol of power, and that he should be proud of it because it means that he is one of the rare few known as a signer. When this is revealed and the term signer is brought up, everyone else in the room immediately bows and shows respect. Rex says this means Jack's destined for greatness, but when Jack mentions that Yusei had one as well, it catches Rex off guard, saying that signs mean far more than you know, and that he has to be sure that he 100% saw Yusei having a marking as well. But Jack knows Yusei can't be heading for greatness too. He says the only thing Yusei's heading towards in the future is minimum wage, claiming that Yusei's marking must be a fake because he didn't have it back in the satellite. But for Jack, he then notices something from the recording of the duel that's being displayed, seeing that Yusei was going to play the trap card Meteor Stream right before their duel was forced to stop, and is shocked as Lazar explains that Jack underestimated Yusei, and that his counterattack here would have destroyed Jack's winning streak, so he should be thanking the heavens the power went out like it did. After Jack argues about this, he realizes that he would have lost to Meteor Strike, no ifs, ands, or buts. Jack truly feels like this is a loss, as Rex tries to comfort him about last night never technically happening anyway, wink wink nudge nudge type beat. Regardless of that, Jack wants to settle things and duel Yusei right now, but you know, that can't happen because Yusei is now in the facility and sentenced to be there for quite some time. So Jack claims that he is going to the facility then, but Rex begs him not to let his ego have him make a stupid decision and saying that his sign is his destiny. While this episode and the next couple are a lot more dense with lore, we do get to start understanding a lot of where the plot is going, all while getting to see the duality of Yusei and Jack under more of a microscope. Back at the facility with Yusei stepping up to duel, Yanagi feels like there is something special about him based on this, as well as all the stuff he's tied into with the Crimson Dragon he witnessed. While the duel is going on, Chief Armstrong, the warden of the facility, is monitoring it all on camera as Rex speaks to him on the phone and tells him to report to him if anything unusual happens during it. As for Rex, he spends time with Jack, explaining that their relationship worked on a need-to-know basis, with Rex knowing a lot of important secret things that Jack has no clue about. But now, there is a need, and no, not for speed, so it's time for Jack to learn about what's really going on. Rex tells him that he's not important because he's a great duelist, but rather he's a great duelist because he's important. Jack's all like, I'm gonna pretend that made sense. And you know what? In fact, throughout a lot of what Jack starts to learn about here, he's kind of goofy with how he takes in the information, inserting random little comments like, okay, between the gaps in sentences from Rex's explanations. I kind of love it. It makes the serious factor of things not feel so overly serious. As they venture into a weird room underneath the building, Rex tells him that this is where his destiny lies, as here, one of the world's best kept secrets is. Before them is an ancient structure with the symbol of the Crimson Dragon on it. The mark on Jack's arm specifically represents the right wing of the Crimson Dragon. Something political joke, haha. Rex continues on, revealing more about himself, saying he's the 360th guardian of the star, with the order he's a part of being referred to as the Order of Iliaster, a group that swore an oath to maintain balance in the universe. Iliaster is the power that gives everything in nature its inner essence and outward form. The universe, energy, mankind, Iliaster is the power running through it all that binds these things together. Rex shows Jack a closer look at the special shrine, showing these carvings in it depicting ancient myths and legends, how the universe began, the dawn of time, the birth of civilization, the creation of the Order, and the Great War of the Demons. Okay, I don't remember that last one. Within the room, Rex starts projecting more of this history in order to take Jack on a journey through time, showing the events from long ago of this pre-Incan civilization in South America, where the people of the stars built a giant building of stone that would be known as the Stairway of the Dragon. It was built in honor of the Dragon Star, which was said to govern all of creation. All of this wisdom was handed down to their ruler, the Star Dragon King, and from this, they built a great civilization. But the gate to the Shadow Realm was opened, where legends tell of evil demons and spirits led by the Demon Lord coming from it and engaging in a great war. This unbeatable battle led to the king climbing the stairway and begging the Dragon Star to help as the great Crimson Dragon came down from above to answer these prayers. It saved the world by sealing the forces of evil deep beneath the earth. Rex then shows off that the Nazca lines, which are these real-life geoglyphs found in Peru, are the seal markings of the Crimson Dragon. And I always love when we can tie things like this into real life. It just makes it fun. While it's been a long time since the Demon Lord and his forces were sealed away, the forces still continue to this day, drawing energy from mankind. They feed off of humankind's sadness, jealousy, anger, greed, and more, with Rex warning that soon these forces will gain more power than they ever had before, being able to then break the dragon seal and return to pillage the earth. He says that when that day happens, he and his order will be prepared to summon the Crimson Dragon and protect humanity. But in order to do so, they must find all the signers, ones who also carry the mark of the dragon like Jack and Yusei do. Speaking of Yusei, his duel ends up just being him wanting to show that every deck has potential and that these cards aren't worthless. It's all about appreciating them and their power to figure out how to use them properly. And I know that I, should care more about the duel and everything that's going on here, but I'm sorry, I'm just too distracted by Longhead over here in the background because I don't know if I want to be his friend or if I should fear him. Tanner actually starts showing some respect to Yusei in the duel based on how good of an opponent he is, claiming that he reminds him of himself. Yusei ends up winning the duel using the deck in a way where he never even technically attacked once, which really impressed Tanner, as he shows him genuine appreciation for a great duel after losing. And with Tanner once being a pro duelist himself, he offers to help Yusei however he can to get him into the world of the pros, thanks to how incredible he just dueled. So that could lead to something cool, maybe. The older ex-professional getting a chance to witness and maybe even assist in some part of this younger duelist's rise, coming from the struggles of the streets and going to the top of the dueling heap. That just sounds like a heartwarming sports movie. One ticket, please. With the duel over now, the warden, Chief Armstrong, has Yusei brought into his office as he is trying to find out what Yusei is hiding, saying it's his job to discover whatever it is, initially pulling up his sleeve to look for the marking that had disappeared. As they begin running tests on Yusei, Rex is back in his office at the sector security building going over all the data from what Armstrong is doing and from what they already have, but as of now, nothing has shown up to indicate this marking being real. In the reports about Yusei in general, there is a lack of information about his past, like who he exactly is or where he really came from, as Lazar points to Yusei maybe not being this special person Rex thinks he could be. But Rex wants to get hands-on now, opting to go and pay Yusei a visit in the facility to handle things another way to get the information he seeks. With Yusei back in his cell for now and speaking with Yanagi, the old man seems to know what the marking Yusei brings up about appearing on him was, calling it the Mark of the Dragon, and telling Yusei that he must be a signer, explaining that he heard about them long ago, bringing up the lore Rex gave us in the last episode as being these myths and rumors, but now it seems that they might actually be real. He goes into a deeper explanation about the signers specifically, with there being a total of 5 signers, each one having the mark of a different dragon that they could call forth to aid them in battle. Another part of the legend goes that the mystical powers of the 5 dragons were all sealed and captured within 5 different duel monster cards. Ah, that's what 5D stands for. Heck, in all this time I thought it stood for 5D's nut. Rex shows up the next day at the facility in order to implement a new program for the inmates, with it really being a plan to test and understand Yusei, to see who he really is and if he is a signer. The program is called the Pilot Program, and the disguised purpose is to see if someone has the mark of the champion, as Rex presents this all as a way for one person here out of all of the prisoners to be taken out of here to have a better opportunity potentially in life. Someone that he will take under his wing, and if that person ends up proving to be a useful member of society and overall net positive for New Domino City, then he'll be happy to offer a full pardon, a clean record, and even a potential invite to live in New Domino City. He's basically just saying all of this to Yusei without directly making it too obvious, at least until the main presentation is done and the rest of the prisoners aside from him are told to go back to their cells. Rex wants to know what Yusei thinks about being the person he chose, as he says he doesn't want any part of it. Rex starts dangling the answers to things going on as a way to interest him, claiming that he knows about the mark of the dragon that appeared on his arm. And yeah, Yusei wants to know what this all means, as Rex says that's what he's hoping to uncover with Yusei's help. Yusei doesn't trust him though, claiming that Rex is clearly hiding something and he's just going to use him. Rex says, of course, in a way, we all use one another, giving the example about how the satellite needs the trash that comes from New Domino City to recycle it into energy and heat that New Domino City uses, which, like, you know, doesn't seem like a fair trade-off. That's not two things living in harmony that depend on each other. That's just New Domino City being a leech, a parasite, having control over and draining all it can from satellite. Yusei says it's not trash that he and those living in satellite need, it's freedom, with Rex saying, fine, it's yours. Yusei just needs to come with Rex in order to study the marking together to hopefully unlock the secrets of the signers. But if Yusei declines, Rex threatens a worse consequence for Yusei. Despite the worry of the unknown, like his name's Molly, whose father is now an Entei, Yusei says he'll take his chances with whatever this threat is, as the threat of what's to come is lingering before we end up finding out what it is. Meanwhile, Jack is still taking his almost loss pretty hard, thinking how could a loser like him be a signer and supposed to be a part of saving the world if he was gonna lose to scum from the satellite? Ugh, Yusei, I can't believe I was gonna lose to you, yuck. When Mina comes in talking about preparations for a duel Jack has the next day, he says he refuses. His rank as #1 means nothing anymore and he's throwing in the towel until he gets his rematch with Yusei to prove that he can beat him. Mina says that he has to because he has a contractual obligation to his sponsors, as Jack says, you think I care? Well, hey buddy, you may not, but I sure do. That's right, it's Gamersup's time. How do you think Yusei, Jack, and anyone else on these Fringe you're also really happy? That's the Kaiba sense, claiming that Jack mentions that dueling is much more than just winning trophies and earning big paydays, claiming that it's funny how Yusei seems to be the only other one in his world now that gets that sentiment. But come the next day, Jack still agrees to move forward with his obligated duel at the Kaiba Dome. His opponent is Hunter Pace, the former #1 ranked turbo duelist until Jack dethroned him from that title, and the same guy that we saw Jack turbo dueling in the first episode. When Jack gets his big announcement entrance, the announcer calls him the Master of Faster, and I like that. I like that one a lot. That's a good title. With the crowds roaring, the cheerleaders cheering, and the engines revving, everyone here is all in excitement over this rematch, but Jack is thinking to himself that this is all just a big waste. Sure, he'll put on a little show for all of them to enjoy, but the real champion in his mind is somewhere sitting in a cell, still feeling like he fully did lose to Yusei, and that he himself doesn't deserve the title of technical champion, as well as him making it seem like he is just this puppeted entertainer trained to dance around for New Domino City's amusement. When the duel gets going, he sends out his tuner monster, Dark Resonator, but doing so by telling it to put up the Big D, which from the context of what the monster does next, I'll just assume it stood for defense. Hunter Pace gives him a run for his money, seemingly, quickly bringing Jack down to only 1,000 life points left, as this is all really personal for Hunter. As for him, when Jack originally beat him and took the #1 ranked title, he lost all his sponsors, his paychecks, his house, and his fans, so that's why he keeps coming back to try and get it all back for himself. As the duel continues, we get fun moments like this happening where some effect causes Hunter to get these random revival tokens on his field sent from Jack, with the announcer then asking what's happening, as Hunter replies back, "I don't know, dude, why don't you tell me?" with the announcer then becoming the exposition device to break down what's exactly happening. And again, I really love these switch-ups here and brand new ways that the show is trying to incorporate this in without it being like it used to be in the other series before it. Jack gets his Red Dragon Archfiend out, pairing it with a combo move of the trap card Lineage of Destruction, allowing Red Dragon Archfiend to attack as many times equal to the number of monsters just destroyed that were in defense mode, which here, thanks to Red Dragon Archfiend's abilities, wiped all 3 of Hunter's off the field. Jack then taunts him about losing, saying that it'll at least make for some good television. He celebrates his victory for the crowd as inside, he's now only focused on beating Yusei.
Next, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
Signing back on.
Continuing on into the next episode, we see moments from a meeting that's happening between Chief Armstrong and Rex, where Armstrong doesn't believe Yusei's a signer, especially after all the tests turned up nothing, saying that if Yusei is a signer, then he's a schoolgirl. Well, alright then. Rex believes that perhaps the mark will appear from a built-up push to want to duel Armstrong, with Armstrong now prepared to push Yusei to certain limits that will hopefully make him want to duel. And as for Yusei, he gets brought to a new part of the facility called the Hive, which is meant to house the worst of the worst. It's maximum security basically, and the place that Rex was threatening to send him in the last episode. His new roommate here is Alex, and when he starts introducing himself and talking to Yusei just kind of starts ignoring him and getting lost in his thoughts, all as a way to recap what all recently happened and pondering if he could actually be a signer. Yanagi and Tanner are also there at the Hive as well, confusing both of them and Yusei as to why they would be forced here, but you know, I'm sure we'll find out shortly. Alex continues on talking, with Yusei now tuning in to listening, as Alex was sent here for something small and stupid, with his time in the Hive only meant for a short stay, but has now been there for 4 years, as he then shows Yusei that secretly under his bottom bunk is a tunnel to escape that he has been slowly making with a knife and a spoon. Alex then takes him through it, showing him that it gets them to an outside part of the facility, as he then points up to an opening way above them, saying that that is their ticket to freedom. Obviously, they don't have wings and can't fly up and out of there, but Alex says that tomorrow night he has people coming to help make his escape happen, with one of his friends being a hacker that can stop him from being tracked with the marking for a short period of time so he can get a clear distance away. Alex offers this one-time chance to go with him to Yusei, as after the facility sees how this escape happens, they'll make sure to never let it happen again. Yusei says he's in, but he wants to bring both Tanner and Yanagi with him, to which Alex agrees to, only if they don't hold them back in the process. The next day, Armstrong comes in to start his plan for baiting Yusei into wanting to duel him, and he starts this by harassing Tanner, claiming he had smuggled in this contraband, even if he really didn't, and telling everyone that's in the Hive that he clearly had help doing this, and if his accomplice doesn't come forward, then everyone here is getting punished. And he's really just saying this all in a way to rile up the prisoners in a stir. Yusei calls him out for his his BS, with Armstrong saying that he can't just let him talk to him like that in front of everyone. So he offers him a chance to duel him in front of everyone, and if Yusei wins, he'll pardon Tanner's fake offense here, with Yusei then standing up to him to save everyone else from unfair punishment, saying that if Armstrong wins, that only he himself will be put in lockdown and take the punishment. And lockdown, you know, the whole solitary confinement, you know, that type of situation. It's not pleasant. The deal for the duel is agreed upon for them to have later on in the evening, but there's just, you know, one problem, and it's that later that night is when they were all supposed to escape. Alex explains to Yusei how Armstrong set him up in a lose-lose situation there, but this is Alex's big planned escape and offers Yusei to still come with him, you know, just the two of them, but Yusei says he can't leave them behind. He won't ditch his friends for his own benefit. I wonder if there's, I don't know, someone in mind that he's thinking of who may have done that to him and his friends. Man, the name, it's just on the tip of my tongue. What is it? Clack Mattress? No. Hack Gatlas? No. Ah, well, anyway. I wonder what Jack Atlas is up to, huh? Oh, he's just racing around his test track in anger. That's very fun. When it's time for the duel, Armstrong claims that Yusei doesn't have any cards to duel with because, you know, they're illegal to have in here, saying that I guess he wins by default, but then Yusei pulls out a deck of cards, much to Armstrong's shock, saying that if he thinks all of them in there are just a bunch of punks who will gladly turn on each other, then he's dead wrong. Earlier in the downtime before Armstrong would come back for this duel, the other inmates in the hive all went to have a talk with Yusei, and as a thank you for showing the type of person that he is, being selfless and standing up to the warden so that all of the prisoners don't have to suffer his wrath for no reason, they all give him cards they have snuck in that all mean something special to them personally in order for Yusei to build a deck that really embodies the soul of everyone in there, and also in a way for them to feel like they're getting to fight back too. And I thought this place was for the worst of the worst, but these are just a bunch of sweethearts. Armstrong says even if him having these cards now is still breaking the rules, he'll allow it for the sake of the duel they agreed upon, as they both get fitted into duel discs that are chained to the walkway that they're standing on, with Armstrong saying that it's just for a little bit of extra fun for the duel. Every time life points are lost, they will get shocked, or as Armstrong puts it, feel a little tickle. Yusei feels the pain from these shocks very early on into the duel, but that's not the interesting part. No, this duel is interesting because Yusei has to duel with a deck of mismatched cards, making it so strategizing isn't really the easiest thing to do. But, you know, he's the main protagonist, hair and all, so I'm sure he'll figure it all out, heart of the cards and that type of stuff, yada yada. I think it's fun that when he plays out cards, we can see the inmates get excited to see their cards being used. It feels like all of their strength together is helping fight back against their main oppressor. When it comes time for Armstrong to get shocked from losing life points, nothing happens as he's all like, oh no, that's odd. I guess the static generator isn't working and I'm not getting shocked. Whew, I guess it's only you who's going to get shocked, Yusei. Womp womp. With Yusei now on the ropes and in pain from the duel, all of the inmates are cheering him on, wanting to see him stand back up and beat this power-hungry, or just hungry, warden. What? I'm fat too, I can say that. Continuing the duel into the next episode, Yusei doesn't back down as Armstrong is putting him in a tough spot, having a strategy that can easily force Yusei to deck out by sending a bunch of his cards to the graveyard each round. As for Alex, he can't wait any longer and he starts sneaking away, whispering that he's sorry to Yusei but this is his one shot at freedom that he's been planning on by himself for a long time. But before he fully goes through with it all once he's outside, he feels the emotions about what Yusei said about not leaving friends behind, choosing to turn back for now and find a way to help out. As far as the duel goes, something doesn't seem quite right, as Yusei and everyone watching can tell Armstrong is up to something with how he's playing, especially when he plays Psychic Cyclone, allowing him to choose and call out one of Yusei's face down cards as a spell or trap card, and if right, Yusei loses it, with him then confidently knowing what the face down card he calls out is, saying that the house always wins. For a brief moment, the power goes out and comes back on again, with Armstrong having the guards worry about checking the generator. Yusei thinks that the power going out was from Alex's escape, noticing that he's gone from his cell. He wishes he could have gone with him, but you know, friendship and all that, themes and such. But we do hear his inner thoughts wishing Alex good luck on his escape, not having any ill will towards Alex getting out of there for himself because he completely understands. But after all that, you'll never guess what card Yusei then plays. It's the Jar of Greed. Well, at least he gets to draw one card from his deck with it, and you know, this just doesn't feel right. Where's the pot, man? I don't want any more comments about it being banned back in 2005, and that's why we go from it being used in every duel in one season of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX to it being nowhere to be found in the next season and beyond. I don't care that it's considered too much of an easy early on advantage card. If you don't have strategies around your opponent getting to draw 2 extra cards, then maybe you're the problem. Free my man Pot of Greed, he did nothing nothing wrong. Unban him now. And in that same sentiment, you're saying Jar of Greed's not being banned? That's okay? Is getting to draw only one card instead of two really that much of a difference? Blah blah, Jar of Greed is different because it's a trap card, making it slower to use in a duel over an instant use of Pot of Greed. These are all just excuses. In this house, we defend Pot of Greed, and that's that. One like on this video is one like for Pot of Greed to get the respect it deserves. But whew, sorry about that. You know, I don't know what came over me. I guess I'm very passionate about Pot of Greed. Yusei ends up using Armstrong's strategy against him, having Call of the Haunted bring back Kickman from his graveyard, who then has the ability to equip the spell card Axe of Despair that's currently in his graveyard, bringing Kickman to 2300 attack points. This time when Yusei attacks and does damage to Armstrong's life points, he gets shocked, and he's shocked because perhaps from that random power outage, it turned his setup back on. Guards then enter the room with Alex, explaining that he escaped his cell and fried the mainframe, as Alex then taunts Armstrong about the systems he fried to make it so that for the remainder of the duel, there's nothing Armstrong can do to stop the shocks coming from it. Yusei asks Alex why he came back, and he tells him that he couldn't leave him here. He had to do something to try and help. That's what friends do for each other. They help. They don't abandon. And that's so wholesome. Now, with the stakes of the duel having shocking consequences for Armstrong as well, Yusei adds on some terms in regards to Alex here, saying that if he wins, Armstrong can't punish Alex, but if he loses, Alex will come to lockdown with him. Alex for a second is like, hey man, please win. I didn't agree to all that, essentially. So, that's great. Armstrong thinks to himself that he still has the upper hand here, thanks to him having the prison camera seeing everything going on, monitoring the cards Yusei is using and getting that information fed to him through a small speaker that's on his collar, which is why it basically felt like he was cheating earlier on, because he was, and still is. But when Armstrong tries to go after one of Yusei's face down cards, it ends up not being the one that he thought it was, calling out verbally that he thought it was this other card that he technically shouldn't have known about, as Yusei reveals that that card he was looking for was now on the other side of the field face down. Tanner comments that Yusei must have switched the placements of his face down cards when the blackout happened, which technically means he cheated as well. You're not allowed to willy-nilly change the placement of cards once they are set, but whatever. Armstrong's a cheater anyway, I'll allow it. Armstrong then synchro summons Iron Chain Dragon with 2500 attack points, gaining another 1000 from the amount of chain monsters in his graveyard for a total of 3500 now. Yusei warns him that continuing with his strategy here is a bad idea, with Armstrong going, yeah, for you. So after all that Armstrong does, and with Yusei now only having 100 life points left, one card left, and nothing out on the field, yeah, things look pretty bad. But Yusei explains what his warning was all about, going on about the strategy Armstrong used in sending most of Yusei's cards to the graveyard, and mentioning that from the start, he knew that he was going to use the security cameras to spy on him, as he then reveals a literal card up his sleeve called Rebel King, which is like, more cheating, but again, in this case, it's fair. Yusei just wanted Armstrong to keep sending his cards to the graveyard so that when he plays Rebel King, as long as there are 30 or more cards in his graveyard, Yusei gets to play a trap card, with his final card left from his deck being the trap card Blasting the Ruins, which also relies on having 30 or more cards in the graveyard, as it will then automatically do 3000 points of damage to Armstrong's life points. Armstrong ends up losing and collapses from the shocks, and while there's this happy and cheerful moment from all of the prisoners, Armstrong uses what strength he has left to tell the guards to send both Yusei and Alex into lockdown, not holding up his end of the deal. But it's all good though, because Rex shows up, saying that the only person going away is Armstrong, as Rex claims he watched the whole thing and that the facility can't be running effectively if there is no trust between the guards and the prisoners, as he fires him on the spot. In the aftermath, Yusei is going to be let free apparently, as we hear that Tanner, Alex, and Yanagi will also soon be let free as well. They all think that this situation is strange. Why did Rex Goodwin oversee all of this and then grant this leniency and freedom for our group here? But they try not to let the questions overrule the freedom coming their way, but it's just something to keep in the back of their mind in general for now. Either way, Yanagi and Tanner give Yusei a card from them each to hold on to, with Tanner telling him to bring his card to a store named Bootleg. Oh, it's a great name, wonder what they sell there. But once he's there, he needs to order some milk and ask for someone named Blister, and he'll help get his runner out of impound. Back at Sector Security, Rex explains his reasonings for letting Yusei go free to Lazar, claiming that his mark won't appear here while being trapped in the facility and having other plans for him now on the outside. With Yusei being able to roam around New Domino City, Rex has assembled an elite task force to keep an eye on him, looking out for any signs of the Mark returning. And as Yusei is walking out of the facility, we see that Trudge is keeping an eye on him too, revealing that he now has this nasty face scar from what happened in the pipeline, and says he hopes for Yusei's sake that this task force gets to him before he does, clearly wanting some personal revenge unaffiliated with Rex's plans. And with that, we have finished the facility mini arc. And so far, what an interesting way to start off a whole new generation of Yu-Gi-Oh! We're only 10 episodes in, and so far we've fought the police, smuggled ourselves into a different city, had a heated duel with a double-crossing friend, summoned an ancient dragon spirit on accident, learned about the lore behind it, I'm running out of fingers, and then went to jail for a bit. And in the grand scheme of things, we still don't have a definitive hook to latch onto for our main protagonist like we would see with Jaden in GX or Yugi in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series from episode 1. All we truly have are more mysteries and questions than a J.J. Abrams production. And you know what? I kinda love how it's being done. It's quite refreshing. Just like some gamer subs, use code for— I'm sorry. I had to. I'm sorry. You don't need to sell me on Yusei being the next king of games or having a pharaoh inside of him that's dueling for him or setting the place at a dueling school. You just need to give me Yusei aura farming every scene that he's in and then give him a bike, and you know what? I'm here for the ride. No pun intended. Scratch that, pun intended. All we know about his motives in the series is that he wanted to get his card back from somebody that he used to know, shout out Goatye, and then figure out how to get to a better life for him and his friends. Now, there is some ancient stuff going on that may or may not involve him as the story goes on, but for the most part, the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series and GX had a starting point with goals that we knew the characters were heading towards specifically. So it's nice kinda not knowing fully where Yusei's story or his whole journey is going to go. I think it's interesting and a nice change of pace. And also, heck, we still haven't even established other major supporting characters. I see some of them there in the intro. You can't hide them away forever.
Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds will sign back on after these messages. Signing back on.
Yusei explores the city while being followed by the elite task force. As he's heading to the store Tanner told him about in order to get his runner back. Now, he said store, but this is clearly like a smaller back alley bar more than anything. But he enters in, orders some milk, slams down the card Tanner gave him, slams down the glass of milk as well, and asks for Blister. The bartender, or milk tender, notices the guys following Yusei, telling him to watch his back and that Blister will come and find him. Just as quickly as he entered the establishment, he's on his way out, as Blister then comes from above, riding his bike from the roofs to the street, grabbing Yusei for a lift, as the guys following Yusei try and run after him, as to not let him get out of their sights. And for real, if these guys are the members of this elite task force, they are the worst and most obvious tailing agents I've ever seen. Come on, Rex, you could have invested in better men here. To make their escape for now, Blister is shining a special light onto Yusei's marking, allowing it to jam the tracking system on him so that they can get away to Blister's hideout, which is also equipped with more jamming technology for them to lay low. While Blister starts helping Yusei with a plan to sneak into the impound area and get his runner back, Yusei snoops around this guy's place, seeing pictures of him holding up a trophy with another person who's holding up a card as well as next to the image is that same card, only now it's severely damaged and barely held together. Blister doesn't want Yusei touching that stuff, but says that he was never in the big leagues. But him and his partner used to duel in the semi-pro league for a bit, but that was a long time ago, holding back any information about what really happened, but from context clues, it can't be something happy. As they're getting everything prepared for Yusei, Trudge ends up spying on them from a distance, proving to be a better tracker than the elite task force, so hey, he at least has that going for him, I guess. We see a flashback of him speaking with his captain after the pipeline incident, and while he is reminded of no third chances and gets demoted for what he oversees, Trudge won't have this, thinking that the decision to let Yusei free on the streets of New Domino City is an outrage, and wants to take matters into his own hands, storming out of the building and going off to find him. The next day, when Blister gives Yusei everything he needs, he finds out that Yusei is going through all of this at the end of the day for his friends back in the satellite. Blister thinks that's insane, and when looking at the old picture of him and his friend, he opens up a bit, telling Yusei that his friend was named Arrow. He's vague about what truly happened, saying that you make friends, you lose friends, and that's how it goes. He essentially tells Yusei to look out for himself because the only thing a friend is good for is finding the best way to let you down. Getting this jarring transition as he goes from this somber tone to this intense storytelling voice, as we get a flashback to him losing control control of his runner, which we see as like the type of motorcycles that have a sidecar on it. The part connecting them is broken, and with no time to think before a head-on crash, Blister swerves to save himself as he cries out for Arrow, who has the head-on collision with the building, resulting in him having an 8-month recovery. Afterwards, he quit dueling and never reached out to Blister again, aside from sending that card in the mail to Blister in the rough state that it's in. He says he doesn't blame his friend for choosing this, saying if he were him, he would have done the same, with Blister really meaning that he was the bad friend the whole time and doesn't deserve his old friend's forgiveness. Yusei leaves, but tells Blister to not be too hard on himself, and when walking away, Yusei's thinking to himself, man, that guy's so wrong. Friends are the most important thing a person can have. Without them, you're nothing. Which, hey man, I don't know if I fully agree with the end of that sentiment. Like, yeah, friends are important, they're great to have, but you gotta have some self-worth, man, come on. For the runner rescue heist, we see Yusei, dressed up in disguise to enter in as an employee, hides within the special security building after hours when the place shuts down. He sneaks into the room his runner should be located in, and this is essentially a giant warehouse full of confiscated things that are now all within crates, and man, what's with all the Indiana Jones references or theming here? Maybe it's nothing, maybe I'm just seeing things, but I feel like this has a lot of parallels to those movies. Once Yusei finds the crate with the runner, Trudge, who had been tailing him since he left the hideout, surprises him along with some sector security goons as they try to capture and stop him. But Yusei is able to get in the crate, get on his runner, and make a break for it with Trudge in hot pursuit. Trudge traps him in another turbo duel, with Yusei using the duel as a way to buy time in order to figure out how to escape from the building and get away from all this. Trudge really wants to know why Rex is so interested in Yusei. Why was he let go and set free into the streets? You know, he just can't sleep at night without knowing. And now with the whole building going into lockdown and the only thing that he can do is either be caught by Trudge or continue speeding towards a dead-end wall, Blister ends up reaching out to Yusei, telling him to keep speeding towards it. I know that Blister's trying to do the whole self-redemption thing, but that's a whole lot of trust to give someone that you had to drink a glass of milk to meet. Continuing from rushing towards the dead end, Blister ends up opening the elevator shaft door for him as both Yusei and Trudge head straight down the whole thing while they're still dueling, and I'm not gonna lie, this was pretty freaking cool. It's so nonsensical, but so is the base concept of dueling while riding a motorcycle, so whatever, let's just have some fun. Blister catches up to them on the ground floor, pushing Trudge out of the way for now while he tells Yusei he's only there so that this job he was hired to help pull off doesn't go wrong and end up ruining his reputation. But I know he really just felt some type of way about all the friendship stuff, and specifically we have proof of this thanks to the Japanese version, where he admits to Yusei that the bonds he has with his friends have him curious as to what friendship is really all about. Here he says to Yusei to not go thinking this makes them friends, claiming he already ruined one friendship as Yusei asks to hear more about Arrow, as we then get into another flashback to Blister and Arrow with them dueling together in a tag team turbo duel semi-league match. Yeah, tag teams are still a thing. We have video games to sell, people, hello! We see how they were winning, leading to the moment that picture with them with the trophy was taken, as he then says that Arrow was the real reason they were winning, calling him a great competitor and an even greater friend. But the semi-pro league and doing tag team duels doesn't bring in the real money, and when a rep from Kaiba Corp came around to Blister, he's convinced he wants to go solo, especially when offered every opportunity that he could have ever wanted. He says that he could finally be up there amongst the legends, name-dropping Atlas, Phoenix, and Truesdale, with the last two being important since they refer to the characters of Aster Phoenix and either or both Cyrus and Zane Truesdale, characters from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, giving us some world building to the series having a tighter connection to the ones that came before it in some way, so that's pretty sick. When we see Blister and Arrow tag team turbo dueling again, we see them arguing about each other's choices, with Blister feeling like he's being held back and wants out of this life where he's barely scraping by to pay bills with these races, and has a chance to go beyond his own, while Arrow is definitely more timid in expressing his emotions, claiming that in the end, this friendship is all he's got, with Blister replying that I guess you got nothing then. But from this distraction, they get surprised in the duel, which is what led to them flying off the course and straight towards the building accident that we saw in the other flashback. Back in the present, he talks more about how bad of a friend he was and all that had happened, telling Yusei that he bets his friends only hang out with him because they want something from him in return. Yusei says that Blister has it all wrong and that his friends are good people, with Blister still then warning him to watch out for himself. Yusei explains that Blister is too angry with himself to see the truth, saying that his friend never wanted to hurt him with the choices he made, continuing on to say that I guess sometimes friends do stupid things, huh? Throwing some introspection for Blister to think about for himself and how he's handled things. Trudge catches back up for the duel to continue and just like, how big is this building? Is it like the airport runway from Fast and Furious 6? At one point when Trudge is putting Yusei in a bad position in the duel, Yusei sets up some more defenses, and when he brings out Healing Wave Generator, he says it's time to help generate a little more D for himself. Well, alright then, that's certainly a way to put it. Blister really is counting on Yusei to win for the sake of his reputation not being messed up, as Yusei claims that he's going going to win, and it will all be thanks to his friendship with Blister. And he's all like, no man, you don't want me as a friend. I'm a bad friend. Boo-hoo, poor me, I suck. Yusei then brings up the card that Arrow sent to Blister, saying that it wasn't sent to him to symbolize their friendship being over, but as a symbol of their friendship surviving through all the awful stuff that happened. He explains that Arrow probably blames himself for things going the way they did, just like Blister does. It was never about him not wanting Blister to go to the Pro League, it was that he didn't want him to go alone. So he gave Blister the only thing that mattered, the card that fused their friendship together. Without his best friend, Arrow didn't care about dueling anymore. But if Blister ever needed help, he says Arrow probably would have been there without a second thought. But hey, wouldn't it be funny if everything Yusei was saying was all some BS, and we see Blister going to see Arrow, and Arrow's all like, what are you doing here? I hate you. That card means nothing, and I never want to see you again. Okay, well, it wouldn't be funny, but you know, like a little bit funny, maybe, kinda, not really, I'm sorry. Yusei calls Blister his friend now too, and continues on the duel, as he tunes together his Turbo Synchron with Quillbald Hedgehog, Speed Warrior, and Sonic Chick in order to synchro summon Turbo Warrior with 2500 attack points, as he then uses its effect to cut the attack points in half from Trudge's Goyo Guardian. Afterwards, he plays the trap card Synchro Strike, giving 500 attack points for every card used in the synchro summoning process here to Turbo Warrior, with him now having 4500 attack points. Trudge doesn't want to lose again, attempting to cheat in order to bring Yusei in, trying to now crash into him, but Blister jumps in the way, fighting back against Trudge. Blister tells Yusei to attack now and not to worry about what happens, saying that this is what friends are for, right? After Yusei does so and wins, Trudge's runner ends up taking down Blister's as well. Blister yells to Yusei to keep going and to just make it out of there as he remains fallen for now. Yusei then speeds through a bunch of guards with shock batons, zapping him as he feels every bit of the pain but keeps going. We then cut to two new characters, with one of them named Luna looking shocked and running outside after hearing a noise. And that outside seems like it's still inside, and I don't know, this futuristic city kind of works weird. Some things are inside but they're outside, but outside while inside. But now with both these characters outside, they see a crashed Yusei, who I guess at least made it through all the guards, but is now clearly hurt and left vulnerable here, as these two kids question who he is and what to do. But hey, look, we're finally getting some characters that we've been seeing in the intro, so that's neat. The two people who find him are Leo and Luna, twins who end up rescuing him and waiting for him to wake up, as they talk about the markings on his face, claiming that their dad said that means they're criminals, but they think that's cool. Okay, well, Leo thinks that's cool. Then they talk about speaking with the card spirits to really understand the type of person this guy is, placing their hand on his deck, as it tells them that he is a good person, but he's also very sad. Aw, poor Yusei. Once he wakes up, these two fill him in on who they are and how they found him, but Yusei seems to have a case of amnesia, saying he doesn't know who he is. The twins show him they are in their apartment in a place called the Tops, so more giant living arrangements on the tops of skyscrapers, very fun. Trudge tries entering into the Tops knowing that's where Yusei went, but it is heavily protected for elite status individuals to live at. So in order for him to enter in, he has to submit all these specific warrant requests and do a whole bunch of stuff, and he's not going to be able to do that. And we see Trudge then mad and going on about how the even richer and wealthier members of New Domino City and all that encompass that higher society feel to him, bringing in more about classism and showing that much like how Trudge would look at those from the satellite, other people can view him the same way. While we are shown New Domino City at first looking like a paradise for the chosen and elite people, or whatever Rex was going on about, the longer we spend time here, the more we see that there are rougher areas, filled with those who aren't as wealthy and are just getting by however they can, that, and even saying that, are seen above those who are from the satellite. In the meantime of Yusei holding up in the building, Trudge is setting up a perimeter of sector security officers all around the surrounding areas of this luxury building, waiting for any chance they can to capture Yusei if or when he leaves. We see that Blister is okay and wasn't captured by Trudge, as he is currently monitoring the situation and hoping that Yusei can figure a way out of all this. As the twins try to help Yusei remember who he is, he sees a shrine of Jack Atlas with Leo saying that he's his favorite and wants to be just like him when he's older. They tell Yusei that he must be a turbo duelist as well, thanks to bringing in his duel runner, with Leo thinking that Yusei could be this big-time duelist, trying to jog his memory by showing him an invitation to this upcoming Fortune Cup event. Luna got the invite, but Leo says she's too scared to enter, so he's going to pretend to be her to enter it. Yusei tries to leave because he doesn't want to cause them any trouble, but Leo has one idea left to help him remember, challenging him to a duel. Based on how Leo is talking, Yusei starts picturing Rally, seeing similarities between them, but this also means that he's starting to get parts of his memory back, so he agrees to the duel, and as they prepare for it, Leo and Luna explain that their parents are always gone away on important business trips, where Luna does feel a type of way about it, while Leo, thinks it's the coolest thing ever not having them around. And he's really into dueling, narrating everything done in excitement as if the announcer is hyping him up. It reminds me of when I was a kid and how silly my friends and I would be when dueling. And as the duel goes on, it continues to spark some memories for Yusei to remember a bit about who he is. Yusei brings out the Synchro Monster Nitro Warrior with 2800 attack points, and we see him playing into the whole fun of how Leo is pretending there's a crowd and everything, enjoying the whole spirit of dueling, but when Yusei wins, Leo starts crying. Yusei says he apparently has his memory back and all is good now, telling him thank you for a fun duel that helped him, and in return to also cheer him up, he offers him some tips and pointers to grow as a duelist. When they want to know about his real identity though, he wants to be vague, not wanting them to get in trouble for associating with him or helping him. But still, they at least offer him to spend the night, so that's pretty nice. In the meantime, we see Rex and Lazar talking about the invitations going out to Turbo Duelists for the Fortune Cup, with one not being sent out, that being Yusei's, as Lazar informs him that Trudge is acting on his own and going after Yusei, making it impossible for Yusei to have gotten this invite. As the night goes on and the twins fall asleep, Yusei has to duel and dash on them for their own good, and you know what? He's really good with kids. Dude would make a great dad one day, or heck, just a babysitter in general at the very least. And I know I'm saying that right after he's just leaving them, but I mean in context to how he spoke with them, humored their curiosity about dueling, and even teaching them a thing or two, he's just a genuinely good dude. But as he's leaving, Trudge was waiting for him the whole time, jumping out to stop him from getting away, but before they could get into another turbo duel, Lazar shows up, informing Trudge that this is not what he's supposed to be doing, shutting everything he says up, and then hands Yusei an invitation to the Fortune Cup, and along with it, a photo of his friends back in the satellite, with Lazar warning him that if he refuses to participate, then his friends will pay the price for everything he did to obtain his duel runner back. Yusei really can't catch a break, huh? I guess that's how it is when you live life in the fast lane. No, I'm sorry. That was so cringe. I'm sorry. From there, Blister comes around and helps get Yusei a small storage unit to have as a place to live and store his stuff within the city. Yusei shows Blister why he has to enter the Fortune Cup, and from this, says that he can help Yusei out, mentioning that during that going on, he'll go and check on his friends to make sure that they're okay, as he has his own ways of getting between the two cities. We see that with Leo and Luna, Yusei had freshly tuned up their duel discs as another thank you for all their help, which is really nice. And thanks to Leo's friend who calls, we learn of a duelist going by the name of the Black Rose being around the area, as she's treated like this urban legend and they're dying to see her in person. Later, when Yanagi and Tanner are let out of the facility, they come over to where Yusei is living, and while he's working on his runner, we hear that he's blasting the theme song of the series, and I love that it's a bit that we see in the franchise in general now. Tanner, thanks to his freedom now, is yearning to ride a runner again, challenging Yusei to a friendly duel where if he wins, he'll get to test drive the runner and bring it back in pristine condition. But right before the duel starts, Jack Atlas rolls up to the middle of it. Tanner makes a comment about it being a long time since he's seen him, showing that they've had a past, and asking what's up, as Jack just goes, "My career, thank you." And man, that was just a pretty good response. I'm not gonna lie, he cooked you, Tanner. As for Jack, after he learned that Yusei is going to be in the Fortune Cup, he sees this as a chance to redeem himself. So now, as to why he's really here, is that he offers Yusei a deal, trying to give him back his Stardust Dragon now, and if he ends up beating Jack in the Fortune Cup, then he can keep that card again, but if Jack wins, he gets to keep it, and then they are squared, and that's that. But Yusei brings up what happens to his friends then, as Jack then has no idea about what Yusei's talking about, clearly not being in the know. He gives Yusei the card and says Yusei will probably need it then, making it clear that anything involving his friends has nothing to do with him. Rex has his own agenda, as he then leaves saying he'll see him at the Fortune Cup, and he wants him to make sure he's bringing his A game. Yanagi's all excited over the interaction and from the dragon cards Yusei and Jack each have, claiming them both to be signers, as Yusei still has no clue what any of that even really means. He didn't get the proper full presentation from Rex like Jack did. It probably would be helpful. As Jack is driving away, he is thinking to himself that this is more than just a card game or about friendships or anything like that. This is all about saving the world, and he's going to make sure that happens. Like, he wants to be the sole person directly saving it, it seems. Rex is doing some freaky celestial connection stuff, feeling the power of the Crimson Star grow as he sends out his unit of what I think look like rare hunter wannabes, but hey, that's just me, for them to all go out and stir up those who may bear the mark of the dragon before the tournament. He wants them to push themselves them to their limits, test their true skills, and get their emotions riled up. Whatever it takes. All in the efforts of restoring the true power of the Crimson Dragon so its power shall rule the world. Might I point out that we do get to see this other character dueling briefly named Jesse Wheeler, who is called out to be the cousin of Joey Wheeler, which is funny because it's the same voice actor, so my goat is still here and we love to see that. But at this spot, Leo and his friend come around looking for the Black Rose duelist, hearing rumors about her being here, but Leo gets excited over Yusei being there as well, with Yusei being more worried about Leo and his friend being here, as this is more of a back alley dueling scene not really meant for little kids. But then all of a sudden, Yusei's arm starts to hurt again just like it did with the Crimson Dragon coming out, as everyone starts running away, as then all these thorns start spiking into the walls around them, and the silhouette of a new dragon emerges. Yusei's marking is on full display now, with Leo seeing this and thinking of a certain marking similar to it. Whatever that dragon was, it disappears, but the duelist known as the Black Rose is there now, with her identity hidden, but at least proving that she's a real person and not some myth like most claim her to be. She calls out to Yusei, noticing he has a mark on his arm, claiming that she has one also, but rather than pursuing this, she tells Yusei to stay away from her and vanishes from the area. Yusei's marking also goes away as he claims that he needs to find her and start getting some real answers. During all of this, Lazar is watching from above, claiming Yusei will get some of those answers soon enough. The Black Rose duelist ends up hiding in some alleyway that night, trying to figure out why Yusei had a marking as well, not knowing who he is or anything about him. But now, it's the next day, and it's time for the Fortune Cup to start. Lazar informs Rex that the Black Rose has gotten the invitation and will be here as Rex's plan is all coming together.
Next, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
Signing back on.
Ah, finally, a tournament arc. Sort of. Getting ready for the Fortune Cup to start, Leo and Luna switch places, and Leo disguises himself as her. Tanner is worried about something being fishy about this whole tournament, but hey, just like Billy Joel once said, you may be wrong, but you may be right. Jack does this big over-the-top entrance to kick off the whole tournament, where the winner of the 8 duelists invited will get the chance to face off against Jack. Everyone then gets introduced, and the crowd starts getting confused when they see Yusei and seeing his criminal markings on his face, finding it weird that a satellite is here, calling him a lowlife and claiming he probably stole someone else's invitation. One of the duelists up there, named Greiger, grabs the mic, making a call out to all the judgmental people in the audience, saying that where he comes from, you judge a guy on his spirit, as he then points at Yusei to say that this city may have branded Yusei as a no-good, but when he looks at him, all he sees is a duelist, and being a duelist himself, that means he has to respect him until he gives him a reason to not, because a duelist doesn't judge other duelists based on where they come from, or who their parents are, or how much money they have. That isn't what really matters. From this speech, Rex starts clapping, initiating the host and the audience to clap to the speech given. And you know what? That was pretty cool this dude to do. We love to see it. Maybe this guy will be pretty cool in general. Rex then speaks about in their world, social status and wealth draw a line between ourselves and our fellow man. But he had a vision of a tournament that for a moment would remove that line. A tournament that is separate from the competition of life, where the haves and have-nots could meet each other on a level playing field and prove themselves to each other and to the world. From there, we get all of the matches for the first round all randomized to see who is going against one another, as Leo will be going first and he is excited to be going up against Greiger, with this being a regular duel and not a turbo duel. We see that behind the scenes, Rex speaks with the professor again as he creates a device that can detect energy, called the Detector, that is connected to all these special sensors placed around the stadium. As for the duel, it starts off really feeling like a good chance for Leo to ask questions and learn how to truly hold his own in a duel, but there is something more going on at play here, as it seems that Greiger is a plant by Rex, as he thinks to himself about testing the kid into seeing if they are who Rex thinks they are. So you know what? I take back what I said. This guy's not cool, and that speech was probably manufactured for him to say. This is a bigger disappointment than Netflix handling the release of Steel Ball Run. Seemingly, the tournament is filled with potential signers, and this is all set up to expose them as such and bring their energy together. But for the general public and for the potential signers themselves, they have no clue. This is just a tournament to them. I guess Tanner was right. As we see the professor trying to read Luna's readings to see if she is a signer, they're actually testing Leo, who is clearly fine while dueling, as we then see Luna watching the duel happen in the stands, and she's starting to feel some pain from whatever Zigzix is doing. Yusei is noticing that Leo isn't adapting to the duel and working on new strategies, rather he's falling into his comfortable zone of playing what he knows, which for a duel like this in a tournament at this level won't be good. Then this guy starts looking like this evil and scary shadow to Leo, and this is not brought up again in this episode. Maybe only Leo's seeing something, or maybe this guy is really doing this so who knows? The professor speaks to Lazar about there being no trace of this duelist being a signer, but instead, there is a faint signal coming from the stands and not from within the duel. Luna starts getting really weak from whatever Zigzix is doing, as the professor is then able to pinpoint exactly where she is in the stands. But as far as the duel goes, Greiger ends up defeating Leo, so that stinks for him, poor kid. Afterwards, when Greiger speaks with Lazar, it's clear that he knew Luna was actually a boy in disguise, as Lazar shows off a document that reveals Luna having a twin brother named Leo, and that they obviously switched places with Luna being in the crowd watching instead of dueling. With this information in general, Rex is prepared to find a way to push Luna to her limits to prove she's a signer. After Leo's match, Yusei tells him that the duel isn't a loss if you learn something from it. And while Leo isn't really feeling like he did learn anything aside from how to lose, things get interrupted as this other duelist barges her way through, locking eyes with Yusei for a second as she continues on to go and do her match. Her name is Akiza Izinski, and her opponent will be this dude dressed like a wannabe blackluster soldier or something named Sir Ransborg, and he's another inside agent for Rex. We also then hear Rex mention that she is the Black Rose duelist, and the rumors go that her cards wield a power so real that they have been known to come to life. Sir Ransborg is tasked with pushing her to her limits to see if she truly does have the mark of the dragon, which makes sense, that's all of Rex's underlings' tasks. When Akiza enters the arena, Leo can't help but feel like he's seen her before. Well, you did just a moment ago back in the hallway. Hey man, I make the jokes around here. Don't be rude. Anyway, Luna can feel something stronger, as if Akiza's deck is crying out in pain, which will play into Luna's card spirit stuff that we saw when we first met her, as she was checking Yusei's deck. Now, for the duel, it is funny to see how Sir whatever his name is here can't stop yapping, speaking in that Shakespearean tongue, while Akiza isn't saying a word and not flinching at whatever he's doing to drain her life points from the jump. When she gets a chance to shine in the duel, she instantly synchro summons Black Rose Dragon, the monster we saw the silhouette of earlier, and from this, Yusei can feel pain in his arm once more, and all of the crowd can feel an intense wind, playing into her cards feeling real when she brings them out. The crowd all then realize that she is the Black Rose duelist, which shocks them all, and they aren't the biggest fans of hers, it seems. Throughout the match and living up to her reputation, her cards end up actually hurting her opponent, as we first see him getting a scratch on his face from one of her moves. He then calls her a witch, and for that she responds, looking angry, and saying, "Be careful who you call a witch." At one point though, it looked as if the duel was as good as over, with Akiza down to only 50 life points left, but she's still not flinching one bit. She's cool, calm, and collective. Through all her strategies and using the effects of her Black Rose Dragon and following it, her Rose Garden and Rose tokens, she ends up bringing back her Black Rose Dragon and then removing a plant-type monster from play, which, thanks to the BRD, that's short for Black Rose Dragon by the by, its ability makes the attack points of the monster it's facing go down to 0. So now with no strategy left, the dude playing dress up drops his fake accent and is begging for mercy, but of course, he won't get that. And from the attack, not only does he lose, but the power of it can be felt in the arena in general. The audience boos her and claims that her monsters are real, as we also see that her opponent is now passed out and hurt from the attack. Watching the duel go down the entire time is some guy wearing a trench coat who's been standing off to the side in the shadows, as he wants Akiza to show the world what she's made of, and after she wins, he alludes to her real fight still yet to come. Yusei can feel something between them as he holds his arm, and for whatever reason he knew that she would win, but doesn't know what is connecting them. We also see Jack is holding his arm as well, so maybe he feels it too, but Zigzix tells Rex that they didn't trace any sign of her being a signer from anything that happened within the duel, which is odd. But my arm is hurting as well. Oh, are these the marks of the dragon? Oh wait, no. These are just my tattoos. Why would I do this to myself? I feel like a coloring book. Now it's time for Yusei's first duel, as he's going up against someone named Shira that Tanner informs Yusei about. Apparently, he once was going by the name Shadow Reaper, and he doesn't like to play nice. And we get this aura around him built up for him to be this scary, menacing figure that Yusei may have a hard time dealing with. Yusei notes that he is wanting to wait on using his Stardust Dragon until he is facing Jack to make him wish he never gave him back that card. So however this duel goes, Stardust Dragon is not going to be something he uses to help him out, even if the situation may call for it. And for Yusei's duel, it will be a turbo duel, as the crowd is hyped to see that finally. I do like that there are a mix of both regular old school duels and turbo duels to keep the show visually fresh, but it also makes sense sometimes, like, yeah, of course Leo or Luna aren't going to be on motorcycles, they're like 11 or something. Once the duel starts, it's a big surprise because Yusei isn't going up against the big bad Shira, as it ends up being Hunter Pace to everyone's surprise, as before this, he ended up breaking into the arena, wanting to crash the tournament so he can take on Jack once more, but then he overhears the secret of Yusei basically defeating Jack, which Lazar shouldn't just be out there in the open speaking so loudly about this, even if it is to Shira to inform him about what's going on and what the plans are. This all then makes you question how this could happen when they were building up Shira as this big scary dude who can't be messed with. But as Lazar tells Rex that they have a problem, we cut to Shira, who is now beat up with cards all around him, while he's laying on the floor in his underwear and saying, "Hey, he just snuck up behind me." So yeah, that's a fun way to break the illusion of who he was. That definitely just makes him an aura farmer who can't frame Mog without his cloak. What in the world did I just say? Why did I write that? Anyway, I guess in general now, because of the circumstances, they'll let it ride as the crowd doesn't seem to care. They just want a good show, and this is good television. While Hunter is doing everything he can to take down Yusei, wanting to get through to him to get to Jack, Yusei is able to keep up with as much speed as he possibly can, but Hunter is pushing his speed as much as possible, blazing faster and faster, while saying that it's not what you do, it's how fast you do it, hitting the max amount of speed counters being at a total of 12 now. He ends up pulling and playing the spell card, the End of Storm, shocking both Yusei and Jack, as that was the card Jack tried playing in his duel with Yusei before the Crimson Dragon emerged. Hunter hints to Yusei that he knows about him and Jack's little duel, and this spell card then wipes the field of their monsters and causes them 300 points of damage per each monster they had. Hunter then gets out his powerful Speed King Skull Flame with 3,000 attack points, and now with Yusei down to only 400 life points and not in a great position, Rex is eagerly awaiting for him to show signs of him having a mark, but it seems like nothing is making that happen so far. Yusei believes in his cards, not letting any Speed Kings scare him off the road, and eventually brings out his Synchro monster, Nitro Warrior. Right as Hunter is about to lap him in the arena, he basically pulls a Heart of the Cards moment, drawing the speed spell Gap Storm, saying it's just what he needed as it can destroy every spell and trap card on the field thanks to the difference in their speed counters, and on top of this, Nitro Warrior gains 1,000 attack points thanks to its abilities from Yusei activating a spell card, bringing it to 3,800 attack points, and thus being able to win the duel completely from there. While Hunter played a game of speed, Yusei played a game of slowing down in order to counter and eventually control the direction the duel was heading in. We see that from this duel, it wasn't able to bring forward Yusei's mark, disappointing Rex as Jack stands up to Rex a little bit, wanting to know the truth about this tournament and what it's really all about, because he knows that this isn't about whoever wins getting the chance to face him in the end. He wants to know why Rex needs Yusei, as he replies that he'll find out in due time. As these duels go on, we get to see how Jack starts reacting to Rex and all the true stuff that's really going on around here. And you can't help but root for Jack to figure out the real game that Rex is playing and, you know, maybe become like a good guy. Because he's not evil, he's just a prick, you know, wearing a mask to disguise how he really feels. Some say that's what my beanie is to me. Interpret that however you want. I know there is a lot more to Jack as a character, and I love the duality of seeing his perspective of the story, as we also see it through Yusei's perspective. Continuing on, we start things off in the next episode with Lazar going to meet with one of the duelists named Frank, who purposefully lost in the first round of matches and is needed to use his apparent hypnotic powers to tap into the mind of a possible signer, setting things up for Frank to go and test Luna. The announcer grabs the mic and does, you know, his job of announcing things to say that Rex Goodwin has made a special losers bracket, and if you've lost, you may be able to duel again, and the winner will get back into the tournament, but it will only be for 2 of the people who have lost selected randomly, as it's, surprise, Professor Frank and Luna, and this time, there is no Leo being in disguise. It's her that needs to duel now. At first, Luna doesn't really want to duel based on her saying that things get weird every time that she does, with Leo mentioning that this pertains to her dual spirit stuff going on, and in the spirit of proving Leo wrong about these spirits being real, since he doesn't fully believe in them and makes fun of her for it, she decides to go ahead and duel. When Rex is explaining that Luna might be a signer to Jack, they check in with Zizix, who is caught on call singing the intro theme, and again, I love it. I hope they keep this bit running forever. Rex also then brings up some more lore about Luna, explaining that 8 years ago she was admitted to a special hospital, saying that she can hear dual spirits' voices. Rex also goes into how Luna was dueling and beating the greatest professionals at the age of 3, but then one day collapsed and fell into an unexplainable coma. Leo was the only one who believed she'd awake from it, and a month after it happened, she woke up. What makes it more interesting is that she claims the whole time that she was in this coma that she wasn't asleep, but instead in the dual monster's spirit world. Rex and Lazar speak about this being potentially real because she suddenly had this knowledge that related back to the Crimson Star. Stuff she couldn't have ever been privy to, and beyond that, new information that even they didn't know. As the days, months, and years passed after waking from the coma, her memory of this spirit world vanished to a point where she claims she can't remember anything about it. So in this duel, it is partly about getting her back into remembering that world at whatever cost they can, and doing so with Frank and his hypnotic abilities or whatever. You know what, I just don't trust him. Frank is just too plain of a character design here for me to, trust him. Like, his hair isn't crazy and spiky enough to be considered a protagonist or even a main evil villain, so he's either just gonna be boring, or someone you just want to keep away from you at all costs. As the duel is about to get started, we hear a familiar cry that you could assume is the spirit of Karibo, like we really got to know in GX with Winged Karibo, but instead she mentions the name Karibon, which is this little fuzzball here. And man, how many Karibo variants are there? And you know what, and I mean when I say this, I want to see a list of every Karibo variant in the comments. In the duel, this Frank guy uses his PhD in psychiatric skills to try and mess with Luna, which we can see from the first monster he plays basically being a Rorschach test, making it so it's hard for her to focus as he asks her what does it remind her of, trying to seek out her time in the dual monster spirit world, slowly hypnotizing her. After he visually freaks her out, he claims to believe her about her time in that world, claiming to want to help her get back to that place, and even if she is scared, she must go and face these fears. Throughout the duel, he essentially gets Luna to feel like she is back in the spirit world while she begins to start fully zoning out, picturing herself really being in this other world while her body is still in the human world. At the same time, something is off with Leo as he starts looking zoned out in the same ways that Luna is. Frank keeps trying to get Luna to remember stuff about the Crimson Dragon, but now her body in the real world is still playing the game in a way that is not in Frank's control, as he asks who could possibly be giving her the strength to do all this, as they allude to it maybe having something to do with her brother Leo, as maybe there is a deeper and more spiritual connection between the two, or maybe it's from something else we get introduced to. As in the spirit world that we're in, Luna ends up hearing a voice calling out to her to say that she has returned and is here to fulfill her promise, with Luna not knowing what that promise is. The voice goes on to explain that her promise is to protect the realm of the dual spirits from the forces of evil. Ah, just like that one show. What was the name of that one again?
Marco versus the forces of evil.
Ah, that's right. Hey, wait a second.
Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds will sign back on after these messages. Signing back on.
Entering back in on things, Frank is trying his best to have Luna guide him through the spirit world with what she is seeing and what she knows, as Yusei is worried about her, and claims he needs to go do something about it.
What do we do about it?
Well, I certainly hope he does more than just go to the dueling stage and, just stand there. That would be anticlimactic. While in this spirit world, the voice speaks to Luna about an evil force trying to break their way